you're watching Inside Politics. Let's talk to you now and find out what you have to say here on the program. We'll give you the chance to have the final word. Let me take a look at what you're saying on Twitter. Dominic Waziri says, and he's addressing Mark Bichache, says that Mark Bichache is not aware that the DP Ruto was elected and not nominated like Jaramogi and Martha Karua. Yes, they resigned from cabinet. Did they become president? Moi did not resign after humiliation as VP. Jacob Abere says, county assemblies passing the BBI bill without identifying reference clauses and articles opened a can of worms. How counties do not have qualified legal minds or think tanks or custodian of bills after passage by counties. He reads mischief there. There's one here from Kiprono says there was economic evaluation before appointments which expanded the executive to Kenyans. There's no value for our taxes. Those are your views. There's one here from Newsam who says, cannot change it, transmission and other permission. That's something different. There's one here from Ambassador John says, politicians in Kenya have so many friends and the only way Uhuru could have entertained some of his cronies in government was through forming unconstitutional positions. Let's take one final one, then go to the phone lines. Proud Kenyan says the ruling by the court on the illegality of the appointments is final. You cannot legalize an illegality. The question is not about the contributions and qualifications of the extra baggage. The issue here is it's illegal. Don't beat about the bush. Let's go to the phone lines now. Keep the tweets and texts coming. Keep the hashtag to use on Twitter is Inside Politics. Let's start in Mombasa. Talk to Dennis Nyaga. Dennis, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay. Na wewe ujambo?
Tuko salama kabisa. Talk to us.
Mimi nataka nianze na hilo swala la UDA.
Naam.
Na Jubilee. Kwanza kabisa hatuwezi kuwa tuwatengeneza serikali pamoja. Ni kama vile mpike chakula pamoja, kila mmoja ameleta viungo vyake. Huyu amechanga mafuta, mwingine ameleta mchele, mwingine amewasha moto. Kisha chakula kikishaiva mmwambie mtu mmoja basi hatuelewani, yabidi usimame kando hichi chakula tukile peke yetu. Nadhani serikali tukifanya namna hiyo itakuwa kwamba tujenga serikali ambazo ni za tabia mbaya.
Naam. Ni
vizuri hiyo kwamba yule mtu ambaye ni shareholder ambaye amesaidia kujenga hawezi ambiwa atoke, kama sivyo wacha hicho chakula kiwe kwamba kitasambaratishwa, watu waanze tena upya, either waende election tena, kwa sababu hata rais mbona haambiwi atoke kama haelewani na mdogo wake. Yastahili kwamba msumeno ukate na ukate kurudi pia. Isiwe tu tuangalie upande mmoja kwamba kama huyu mmoja haridhiki atoke. Acha wote wawili watoke, kama hawaelewani na walitengeneza serikali pamoja, kila mmoja angalau warudi kwa mandate ya wananchi, wapatiwe kura tena. Kama wananchi hawataki, wote wawili waende zao. Lakini hatuwezi ambia mtu mmoja atoke.
Aya, naam, asante. Na maoni yako ni yapi kuhusu swala la BBI?
Swala la BBI naweza sema kwamba yabidi iregeshwe tena upya kwanza pale mwanzoni ilipoanzia kuanzia kwa MCA. Kwa sababu ikiwa kuna county assemblies ambazo zimejadili mswada ambao yamaanisha kuwa itakuwa ni kurukia process katikati kurekebisha vitu ambavyo havikujadiliwa mwanzo.
Wali?
Kama kuna mambo ambayo yalikuwa yamekoseka katika wording kwa sababu ya meaning, yabidi tuanze mwanzo tena.
Asante Dennis.
Kwa ni makosa kurekebisha, itakuwa ni kama kuandikia wananchi ambao washasaini mswada ambao ulikuwa uko makosa. Turekebishe, tupatie wananchi wa sign, kisha tuilete kwa county assemblies tena, iwe kwamba tutaipitisha ndio iende mbele.
Asante. Dennis Nyaga calling us from the county of Mombasa with his views there. Let's go to Nyamira now and talk to Mutari Otiso. Mutari, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Ben.
Yes, thanks for calling in.
Yeah?
Talk to us.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you, Ben. I'm
yes.
just wanting to start from the area under the unconstitutional offices, whereby we are talking about the court ruling on the CASs. I'm saying...
Yes, go ahead.
From the interpretation I got from Mark Bichache, I'm seeing like if the president has the authority and the powers maybe to institute some offices within his government constitutionally, then it's okay. But if that one is not provided for in the Constitution, then it's wrong. So I leave that one that way. Number two, I'm talking about the DBI. When we talk about the DBI on the omissions, I don't know the commas, free stops, and other areas. I have got information from my brother Dismas that the AG, the Attorney General, has powers to do some amendments. Then we have a fine-tuned copy. Lastly, I'm talking about the Jubilee and the UDA divorce. That is what we can talk about now. I'm talking about the Tangatanga team, UDA. These people are showing a lot of disrespect to the president. Therefore, if there is a lot of dysfunction, if they see that things are not working well on their side, they were in Jubilee, they have gone to UDA. That is their own business. What they are just required to do is all about walking out, as Bismarck said, and they get reviewed somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mutari Otiso, calling us from the county of Nyamira there with your views. Let's go to Nakuru and talk to Rose Njoroge. Rose, how are you? Hello? Hello, Rose. Can you hear me? Yes, Rose. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Yes, thank you for calling in. Give us your thoughts.
Thank you, Ben. Now, number one, I want to agree with my brother Bigambo that probably their point is in this draft bill. And I wish to state that although I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a citizen, a comma or even a full stop means a lot when you are making the law. I believe the lawyers know that. On the issues of the county assemblies, the truth of the matter is that the draft did not go through public participation because there is no way you can public participation of a bill in a record of 10 to 15 minutes, then you rush it to the county assembly, the following day within 7 minutes has passed. That means this draft bill was is not actually a popular initiative from Wanjiku. This thing was brought to Wanjiku. Wanjiku actually was brought on board. It is like you go out when you are grown up, you go and bring a wife, then you bring your parents on board, to bless and the marriage. But you see, when you go and have problems, you still go back to Wanjiku. So I believe people should know that it was a flawed process, because even the very people who supported it initially are the same people, as you said, are now wanting an amendment, the ODM side of it. I don't know what they have seen. Number three, as a country, according to what our judge passed through, I think the learned judge is in order. But you see, we are full of pride. I always say that we need leaders who are humble enough to accept their mistakes so that we correct them. When you being hard-handedness, then our country will really suffer. The CSS were given those posts unconstitutionally. That is the way I see it. On the UDA and Jubilee, I think it's just a failed marriage. Everybody wants to show who they are. But for me, I would say the same way the Mombasa man has said. If we are not agreeing and we came here together, you couldn't make it without my vote, and I couldn't make vote. The gentleman way is to break government and go to the people once again.
Thank you so much, Rose. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your call. Rose Njoroge calling us from the county of Nakuru. Let's have another call from Lawrence. Lawrence, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ben.
Yes, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Muranga.
Thank you, Lawrence. Talk to us.
Yes, I wanted to contribute a bit. because I've been moved a bit by the issue of this, the topic of today.
Yes.
Number one was on the issue of caste officials.
Go ahead.
The caste officials. In my opinion, I don't see any wrongdoing from the president. These things, they happen one over. Any office you are given, I believe it is organized according to the way you feel it can deliver for you.
Okay.
And then on the issue of BBI, I am not moved at all. Why are people talking about an IBC which cannot even explain their results? I remember during the last election, when they were being asked about the results they had posted on the wall, they could not explain. So what are people expecting from them to explain in regard to BBI errors and things like that? That is not a body.
Okay, we are losing you, Lawrence. Are you still there? Oh, okay, we seem to have lost Lawrence. Lawrence, are you still there? We have lost Lawrence Akumu calling us. Would like to hear his thoughts. Before we go to the final thoughts, lady and gentlemen, Rosalie, there's something that a caller said, and we had talked about it earlier, but I hadn't asked you about it. And that's about the various versions that we are seeing of the BBI bill. The one at the Senate and at 32 county assemblies. And some people are saying that these are just clerical, typo, grammatical errors. But another school of thought is that would change the meaning and text, of the bill. What is your take on these versions and how these differences should be treated?
Actually, Ben, I agree with the callers that even a comma makes a fundamental change in a bill. And if you look at what even the jailer committee, the joint committee said on Friday, they said that 32 counties passed bills that had issues. So that means that only 11 counties had the actual bill. Now, if you come to the National Parliament, again, the National Assembly has the right bill. But the Senate has the bill that has some issues. I don't know if they can be called typos, grammars, or referencing. But one of the major issues that factored in all this bill is a reference to Article 87.7, which is supposed to be Article 89.7. And this is what IBC has been talking about. If you look at that article, it's talking about how IBC is supposed to come up with the boundary delimitation of electoral units in terms of population, land size, the capped constituencies. So this was not done. And you can even see the misreferencing in the bill. Another issue that came up is the issue of Clause 2. Instead of Clause 3, they've made reference to Clause 2. There is also the Article 204 that they have not put the reference of Subarticle 6, yes. Which give the period of 20 years, and in the bill it's talking about 30 years. There is also Article 188 that is talking about voting by delegation in the Senate. Now, with this new bill, we are supposed to have 94 new senators. Now, in that case, it is turning around the voting by delegation per county to the single senators having a vote. Now, this one, if you see the way it is referenced in this bill, again, it's very different. And the last issue that has been a thorny issue even to the MPs is the issue of the schedule, the second schedule on how to capture the 70 constituencies in law. This schedule of the 70 constituencies, where do you anchor it in law? You cannot anchor it in the Constitution, you cannot anchor it in the IBC Act, you cannot anchor it in the Elections Act, so where do you put it? So these are the fundamental questions we have. Right. Apart from that, then we have now the errors and the grammatical typos, which again, this committee says, if they write a report to correct these errors, they will be subjected to a vote. There are high chances that vote will not pass in the National Assembly, the 50%, but it will pass in the Senate. So do we go ahead with it and not subject it to a vote in Parliament, but include it in the vellum to be taken to the President for assent? These are the questions that we are having. All
right. Mark Michache, let me come to you very quickly for your final thoughts.
Ben, my final thoughts are these. Number one, Kenyans must be very wary, very suspicious of some of the political class. Number one, they must be wary of some politicians who want to make trivial of the dangers we face around COVID. There are politicians who, it seems to me, are focused on trivializing the dangers of COVID and heightening the emotions of Kenyans to lead us down the path of where our hospitals will not be able to cope. Secondly, given the intricacies around the BPI report, both in Parliament and in Senate, in the county assemblies, it is clear that there are some people who are again focused on hoodwinking Kenyans and taking the rights of Kenyans away using very, very, very tricky and evil schemes. Kenyans must be wary, and they must be wary of the politicians who want to seem to sing their tune when indeed they carry a dagger in hand.
Mark Javas, your final thoughts.
Well, Mark, a conjunctive reading of the Constitution by its nature affords us rational explication of the Constitution and its provision and guides us on that good path of the rule of law. A good country such as ours must be led not just by good laws, but also by good men and women, rational people who appreciate the value of good principles of governance. When we look at, for example, the errors that have been identified with regard to matters BBI in the House,
yes,
these are not just procedural technicalities that have been identified. These are substantive issues, and they are very critical. And if at all there is need for any changes or amendments, that process cannot continue from where it is. It will need then that the people get to opine again, or the county assemblies again, to revisit, to deliberate on these issues before it goes back to the assembly.
Right.
So I think I would want to call on each of us and say that it's proper for us to exercise good judgment, drink deep from within the well of rational judgment, and see which direction do we want to lead our country. Do we just want simple convenience of all these processes? Because there is a theory in constitutional law called unconstitutional constitutional amendments. Do we want to find ourselves amending a constitution unconstitutionally? That is a question that we must ask ourselves.
All right. Thank you. Dismas.
Well, my last remarks are that as a nation we should embrace resignation, both in the public sector, in the civil society, and the private sector. That if for some reason you're unhappy with the position taken by your board, or your party leader, or the president, or cabinet secretary, or even this position called CIS, please resign instead of causing turbulence. That's what happens in mature democracies. That way, then we'll be in a very good place. Then number two, we should start to sanitize our political parties, so that political parties in Kenya do not become groupings of tribal leaders, that because you're so powerful in a particular tribe, then you form a political party, and then you run it as you deem fit. We should be striving to embrace ANC in South Africa and CCM in Tanzania.
Right.
If we do not do that, then Kenya is going to remain a tribal society till the cows come home.
Rosie, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I think I appeal to the BBI proponents that with all these issues of errors, grammars, and what we are seeing in the bill, can they avail the bill to the public so that the public are able to interrogate the bill to understand what is there? Now, again, if we are supposed to rework on this bill, I think the best move is to again collect signatures, because we cannot change anything where we are. We can either proceed with it or collect fresh signatures so that the people appending their signatures know what they are supporting.
True.
To start the process afresh.
Thank you so much, Rosalind Obala, political editor at The Standard Group, political analyst Javas Bigambo, political risk analyst Dismas Mokua, and communication strategist Mark Bichache. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me, as always, here on Inside Politics to shed light on some of the most important political and policy issues that Kenyans are talking about today. That's why we leave it on the program. Join us every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm Ben Kitili. Bye for now.